People are craving to create video content. That's why they're coming to us. That's why we have so many requests.
Yeah.
So we want to find ways to make them enabled to create their own content, but do so in a way that reflects the brand and personifies what we expect in video projects.
As creating connections becomes a greater priority for your business, there's little doubt you'll see the demand for video accelerate. Marketing needs videos, sales needs videos, even your execs want selfie videos that look great but feel authentic. Now this sounds great in theory, but in reality, it can be difficult and expensive to scale video creation. Exclusively working with agencies will get costly very quickly and will also impact your ability to turn content around quickly. Hiring more in-house producers may be nice, but can also be costly as you scale. But on today's episode, we'll explore a third option, which I believe will be the winning formula for most businesses. It combines a video center of excellence, a modest in-house studio, and a dedicated focus on enabling teams across the business to create their own user-generated content in a way that meets corporate standards for consistency, quality, and brand. Welcome to Video in Focus, the show that explores the expanding role of video in modern marketing and sales, and how to build better relationships through purposeful video content. I'm your host, Tyler Lessard, and today we're speaking with Eric Langhoff, the in-house video production lead at TechData Corporation, one of the largest global distributors of IT products and services, and also one of the world's most admired companies. And once you hear how Eric has approached an in-house production studio that's designed for user-generated content, you'll know why he is one of the world's most admired B2B video producers.
I started my career in Dallas doing live production at a church facility. It was one of those mega churches, multi-million dollars worth of equipment, studio space, live broadcast, whether it was nationwide or on the web for weekly services and things like that. So that really got me a base in the technical side of video production, live casting, those types of things. And then from there, looking more towards advertising and film production, I went to the University of Tampa where I studied entrepreneurship and film production. It was a dual degree, really focused on both the business side, but then also the actual technical production side, which I think really creates a good niche for advertising, especially in the B2B space, which really helps nowadays with TechData and what we do here on a daily basis. So from there I moved in from live type productions to commercial work, advertising, and ultimately ended up here where we're doing a full-fledged agency of business-to-business marketing in a variety of formats.
Now, Eric isn't alone as a video producer who has moved from film and broadcast to the world of business marketing. Just as we've seen many journalists and reporters turn to careers in content marketing, video producers are finding new homes within companies that are recognizing the need to make video creation a core competency. But unlike most, Eric's been doing this now for 4 years at TechData, and during that time he's seen some big changes to what video really means in a modern business.
It's evolving very quickly. So I've been with TechData now for 4 years, and from where it was where I started to where it is now is a completely different game. As you mentioned, we have this new studio space that we're in, but it's not just the space and the facilities, it's the type of projects that we're receiving, it's the number of projects that we're receiving,
right,
and the diversity of what we're receiving as far as the output of projects. So it's no longer just looking at explainer videos and testimonial talking head type projects. Mm-hmm. We're looking at interactivity, we're looking at 360, we're looking at event videos. So the whole gamut of what we're creating and the resources that are needed to create those is changing rapidly on a daily basis. So we're trying to evolve and keep up with that, and at the same time, innovate and have new types of video formats.
Now, Eric mentioned the new studio they've built right within their main office building. And for those of you watching the video version of this episode, we recorded this interview inside that new studio, and I can attest it's pretty amazing setup. Not only was it done on a very reasonable budget, but it was designed to be self-service, so that others across the business who have limited experience with video can easily record, edit, and publish high-quality content. Now, we'll walk through exactly how they designed that studio in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to learn more about the increasing demand for video at TechData and how that led them down the path of investing in a brand new studio.
As far as the video team, we have a total of 2 people, so
right,
that creates a lot of demand and bandwidth constraints as far as what we have for the projects that we get. So we're constantly busy and tapped with projects as the number of requests come in from both our clients as well as the internal organization. So we look to utilize different resources as well as equipping other people in the organization with the tools and skill sets they need to do user-generated content and take on the types of projects that don't necessarily need the high touch that we deliver.
Yeah, it's a super interesting model, and I'm seeing more and more companies thinking that way. Of we have a mix of video content we need to create within the core team, but as much it's about how do we enable and empower other teams to be a part of that creation process. And some organizations I see are actually giving full rein and saying, okay, you teams over here, here's the tools, here's the knowledge, and let us know if you need help with video creation and production. And others are taking a more controlled approach where they're making sure that teams understand the process, maybe allowing them to capture the content, but then bringing it through the core video team for brand control and things like that. How are you thinking about that today? And I appreciate it's probably going to evolve and change as we go. But how do you think about that, and what scares you about enabling other teams to start creating content?
Well, absolutely. As we look to enabling other teams, it's always the idea of your bandwidth versus keeping quality across the board. So we've kind of started to roll this out, over the last year, but it's an evolving process, as you said. We haven't fully locked in what we're doing, but I think we're really breaking it down based on where the output of that video is going to be. So is it going to be an internal project? Is it going to be on social media? Or is it going to be on the main landing page for our website? Is it going out into an email blast to our customers? So when we break down and we look at the different outputs, then we can kind of decide who can be a champion of that type of project, and how much direction do they need from us, or if they can do it all on their own.
The approach that Eric and his team are taking feels like it will give them the best of both worlds. As a small in-house production team, they can produce higher-end videos that are designed to get broader reach. But at the same time, they can empower teams and individuals across the company to quickly produce conversational and transactional videos without being dependent on the time and availability of the video production team. But that only works if those other teams have access to the equipment and the tools they need to produce great content without having to be video experts. Enter the new self-service video production studio.
This new space is designed to be kind of a user-generated content creator space so that people can walk in and with the click of 3 buttons, they're recording 4K content with high-quality audio, good lighting, and they can get a file, finish it in the computer that's here, and then walk away with a final product in a matter of hours. So it really helps to enable more people. It started kind of as a brainchild about a year ago when we were doing a project for one of our large events, Vendor Summit. We rented out a studio space, we brought in lights, we had a white cyc wall, we filmed this whole set, and as we were filming, they were like, we could probably do this inside our own organization, save the rental costs. Yeah. We can do this relatively cheap and then have it for the whole organization to use in a variety of ways. So that was about a year ago. Through processes of approvals, kind of talking through finding the right mixture of quality versus price, and then also ease of use. So we wanted to make sure that it was easy enough for somebody who's never used video before to come in and hit record and get something off the bat versus somebody who's extremely technical and would have to figure out things each time. So it's definitely a balance of technical versus ease of use. And what we tried to look at was ways of reducing the number of clicks. I think that was almost like if you were trying to develop a user experience for a website, you'd want them to get from the beginning of the website to checking out with the fewest number of clicks. Same process went into the studio. So being that my background was in live television, I could build a full studio that would have multiple cameras, we'd have switching, we'd have a full setup that would feel like an NBC, a CBS type production, but we wanted to make sure that the average user could come in here and make it work without all that. So taking a look at the number of clicks, we went to simplify the process to a camera, a record deck, and audio. And those are really where those 3 areas kind of combined, and then simplifying it into an iPad that has those core button functionality. That's how we would make it user-generated.
I love the website user experience analogy. By designing a studio that enables anyone to walk in and record 4K video with amazing lighting and audio in literally 3 clicks, they'll not only enable more content creation, but they'll maximize the efficiency of everyone involved, including the video team, who no longer needs to spend time on every single production. But I wanted to make sure this was dummy-proof, so I asked Eric to walk through how it works in real life and what happens after the video is captured.
It's one thing to have the final file or the recorded file, and then it is to take it and make it into the final product.
Yeah.
So what we've tried to do is we tried to make that as simple as possible as well, making this a one-stop shop for recording as well as editing and getting that final file out to wherever that final delivery method is. So what we did is we took kind of our own workflow, which we're all based in the Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yep.
So my team lives in After Effects and Premiere all day long, creating motion graphics templates. We have a whole brand package that speaks to our brand, our colors, our style, and that has intro, outros, lower thirds. We were able to take that package and we kind of looked at what was a more simplified editing format, and we kind of landed on Adobe Rush because that takes the formats from Premiere, from After Effects into motion graphics templates that can enable somebody to take the raw output from the camera, have it synced to the computer. It shows up on the actual desktop as a file, drag it into Rush, drag in a couple of templates, intro, outro, lower third, trim the beginning and end of the clip, and then export your final product. And so, in a matter of minutes from when you have the footage recorded to sitting down at the computer, you can have an output really quickly. And then ultimately we have Vidyard enabled on that computer for them to upload and then share the final link with social media or in an email or however it's going to be sent out to the end user.
That's great. So you have a dedicated machine. People don't have to worry about copying large files onto their own laptops and other places or uploading them to shared drives. And I think that's really smart to use Adobe Rush as a real entry level for those that aren't producers and editors. They can learn Adobe Rush pretty quickly. It's a very straightforward tool.
With Adobe Rush, as you mentioned, it's really great for people who have maybe never touched editing software before.
Yeah.
One thing we found really great about it was when you open it up, it has a 10-step process to get you familiar with the software, including even showing you where to drag clips and bring them in. So we have the computer in the studio set up to always prompt to show that tutorial, so that when somebody comes in and they maybe never used Adobe Rush or this is their first time in the studio space, they don't need somebody here to train them. The computer is automatically set up to train them and get them to create this type of project.
It's amazing. It's a really great example of catering to the audience and making sure that they can feel empowered to create great content, but not be encumbered by the technology, which is amazing. So let me ask you one more thing about the studio that we're in here, and we're in this wonderful infinite white space. Why did you land on this sort of design for the studio, and how did you sort of end up creating this as your backdrop for filming?
Yeah, there was actually a lot of debate about what the backdrop would be for this type of space. We looked to potentially using green screen so that people could put whatever they wanted in the background. We looked to having a white background, where we ultimately ended up. There was other options such as building a set that could be kind of brand oriented that people could film in. As we looked through those different options, the two that kind of stuck to mind were the white or the green screen. We were afraid the backdrop being a set would feel too custom for certain shoots, as well as get repetitive as you look to producing 100 projects in the studio a year or more. That could get very repetitive. So green screen versus white background. We looked at green screen, and green screen obviously has its technical challenges for people who have never created video before. You have to actually remove the green screen. You have to put something in the background. And the difference between a good green screen and a bad green screen is pretty significant, and it can almost immediately deter the audience and show that it's a lower quality production. So we went with white to have kind of a modern feel. We're being a technology company, and all white in our brand colors. We went with the white. It's great for putting motion graphics to the side of a person because it doesn't conflict with other colors, and it just creates a space where people are really focused on the person talking versus being distracted by something going on in the background.
That's great. Now, last question about the content in the studio here. What kinds of videos are you expecting people to create in here within this space? Is it primarily talking head to the camera, or do you have different kinds of videos that you're expecting people to use the space to produce?
So we see this space being used for 4 primary purposes. The one would be talking head type projects. So we bring in an executive, they have a message that they want to speak to, they can talk to the camera, we have a teleprompter equipped if the message requires that type of scripted format. So that would probably be the primary usage.
Yep.
In addition, this space, the camera, the audio, all that can be routed to the computer as a webcam. So we have it equipped with Zoom, we have it equipped with Go Video. So people can come in here, do a live webcast from here if they're trying to impress a client, if they're trying to do a meeting for a global organization, or if they're speaking to everyone. This is a great space to come into. They know the audio quality will be good, they know the lighting's perfect, and they can have a clean stream without worrying about a lot of other factors. So it's definitely great for that in high profile live stream situations. And then we're also looking to use it for custom shoots. So we've done a couple in the past where we do sort of synonyms for different types of marketing and different types of strategies. So we personify that, whether it's throwing dodgeballs at somebody as showing email is overwhelming. Sure. We've created this type of series that kind of personifies these different marketing elements, and this space works great for that, as it's a very simple space. With the cyc wall, we can have full reign in the white space to do whatever we want for set production and things like that. So custom shoots are also another option for being that this space is wide open.
And it's an amazing space to do a video podcast interview, which I can now attest to. What camera are we looking into here? I'm going to make everybody watching or listening jealous right now. Okay. What camera do you get to play with here?
So I've built this whole system off of Blackmagic design. I'm a huge fan of Blackmagic in that, they create a package that works together really seamlessly. Okay. We use that for all of our live productions, for live switching and things like that. Yep. So it integrates really well with our live setup as well. So we're looking at a Blackmagic Studio 4K camera into a Blackmagic Mini HyperDeck record system that's through Ethernet connected to a Mac Mini.
Okay. Oh, hey, sorry, 1 second. Blackmagic Studio camera, shipped via Prime. And we're good. Now, what I really appreciated when seeing the camera myself is how large the display screen is for previewing your shot. Now, for a professional videographer, it's not that big a deal, but for an average marketer who would normally be intimidated by video gear, it goes a long way to make it approachable and give you the confidence in the shot that you're framing. And now that we're all up to speed on where Eric and his team are at with the studio today, let's find out where he thinks business video is going in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, there's 2 areas I think we see, the next 3 to 5 years really being taken over with, and I think one of those is interactivity.
Right.
Interactive video, especially on the web. So we've done over the past 90 days to 180 days, we've created projects that are more immersive, using 3D environments that are created in Cinema 4D. We have those on websites that people can interact with. They can have hotspots, they click, they dive into these different verticals or environments and really explore the technology that's inside of them. Wow. So interactivity, whether it's Lottie with SVG motion graphics on a site, or full 3D renders that kind of bring you into these spaces, even VR and 360. Those types of projects definitely are on the forefront. We're getting a lot of requests for them. They're a little more time consuming than a typical video, but they have a lot of impact, especially for connecting viewers on the web and getting them to fully understand the product and what it offers. So I think from business to business marketing, interactivity is definitely one that's going to continue to grow and continue to be an area where we'll see what technology comes out, but it'll definitely be evolving quickly. The other area we saw, it will be with user-generated content. So I think right now the studio space is a great first addition, and it kind of blends the gap of enabling people, but also kind of maintaining the brand standards and high quality. But I think too, as more people and more thought leaders want to get their message out there, we'll want to work with how we can make that work on the smartphone. So people have 4K cameras, 1080 cameras in their pocket that are really high res, they work really well, and people are craving to create video content. That's why they're coming to us. That's why we have so many requests. So we want to find ways to make them enabled to create their own content, but do so in a way that reflects the brand and personifies what we expect in video projects.
All right, so you know everything about this great new studio that the TechData team has built, and the process for how people are going to walk in and self-service video creation. But I know what you're thinking, let's see it. Let's find out how they've really built this so we can maybe build something ourselves. So, without further ado, let's take a look inside the new TechData studio.
So welcome to the TechData Studios. We're going to do a quick tour of the setup here, just talking about how we built the studio and some of the decisions we made as far as the equipment in the space. So the main piece of the studio is the camera you see right here. It's the Blackmagic Design Studio 4K camera. High-res, 4K recording. It all goes back to a recording deck so we can get ProRes ready for the edit. Makes it easy for people to trim and get out for final output. On the front of this, we have a teleprompter, which is for our more scripted type productions. We have corporate announcements, scripted series. We use that so that people can follow along with the script, stay on track, and deliver their messages based on what the copywriter has created and the content that we're trying to show. So above the camera, we have two lighting grids. On those, we have LED lights that we have full control over as far as color temperature, brightness. All that is via DMX, which we have back on the Mac Mini. In addition, we have two color LEDs, so we can do some fun effects with different color fills to kind of show branding or just to create a more dramatic effect with the video. So we talked about how the camera is recording in 4K. We talked about the lights, how we have full control over those from the computer, because ultimately we're trying to get people to have one spot to go to when they come into the studio space. Where they can control everything. And that spot is the rack. So, on my left here, we have a rack that's built with full audio, video recording capabilities, a basic switcher in order to switch between camera feed, presentations, just to create a seamless production all in a box and be able to get final output as soon as possible. Looking at the top, we have the Blackmagic HyperDeck Studio recorder. This records ProRes in a variety of flavors and allows for easy editing and doesn't put too much intensive processing power on the computer. Next to that, we have the Blackmagic Web Presenter, which it's made for web, converts your signal into 720p USB, whether it's Go Video, whether it's a video chat type format, it converts it into the computer and can be set out for the web. Inside of that actual device, it has a 2-channel switcher. So we're actually using that for dual purpose. 1, converting for the web, but 2, making it be our in-house switcher for basic cutting back and forth. We have the Mac Mini's presentation output. So if we have a PowerPoint presentation or video, we can stream that straight into the web presenter. And we have the camera as the second input. We can dissolve between the two to create a seamless production and record it onto the HyperDeck. Walking our way down the rack, we have audio set up. So we have a 12-channel audio mixer, which has inputs from our 2 lavalier microphones, which we use to mic up the talent and get good, clean audio in the space, trying to avoid echo and things like that, just to make sure that the audio is extremely clear, because audio in most cases is more important than the video, because customers and consumers try to, they'll watch a video if it's not the greatest quality, but if they can't hear what the person's saying, they can't get the content, then the message is lost and ultimately viewership drops. So underneath the audio mixer, we have our 2 receivers for the Sennheiser wireless lavalier microphones. These are the basic setup, very simple to use, so a person can come in, raise the volume on either channel, and they have complete control of their audio. Underneath that, we have a rack housing for the Mac Mini. So our entire studio is powered off of one Mac Mini. It has Adobe Rush editing software to take the final outputs from the records, edit it, and then have a final deliverable for the web. It also houses the software for the DMX lights, so we have full lighting control all on the Mac. And that's basically the setup for a user who comes in here on a regular case to create their own content. So it's very simple, one-stop shop. There's within 3 buttons, lights on, audio up, and hit record. Very simple, easy way to get started with recording, and a great way to enable people to produce content.
From explainers, talking heads, webinars, and event videos to 360-degree content and interactive experiences. Business communications are undergoing a radical shift, and it's forcing us to rethink how we create content. By investing upfront in the right approach and focusing on enablement rather than control, we can not only ensure that our supply of video will meet the demands of the market, but that we're empowering our people with the tools and skills they need to stay one step ahead of the competition. Thanks for joining us on Video in Focus. brought to you by the fine folks here at Vidyard. If you enjoyed the show, give it a like or a share, hit that subscribe button for future episodes, and check out the podcast version now available as part of the Creating Connections podcast series.